Hi, it's Gal Pastor. Actually, it's Gal Chaplin today. Several years ago, when my son was 5 and in kindergarten, I came to pick him up from school and I heard what sounded like him and another kid crying and arguing. As I was approaching the classroom carrying my 6-month old in a car seat with me, a little girl from his class who liked talking to me ran out to meet me, and she immediately reported that yes, indeed, there was a conflict I'm about to walk into. And then, perhaps because she saw my saddened and worried expression, she quickly added, "At least your baby is cute. At least your baby is cute." We still use that sentence, my husband and I, to offer quick, joking attempts at comforting each other. Don't get me wrong, my baby was cute. But even at 5 years of age, this little human already had acquired a tendency to reach swiftly for the lowest denominator of positivity around in an attempt to redirect and comfort another person. Part of that motivation is pure. Make it better quickly. No fault there. We all do it. Americans, perhaps more than others, because positivity reigns supreme here. But it is an unhelpful and a perilous move among grown-ups. In my chaplaincy education, that's one of the first things I learned. When you sit with the suffering and the grieving, you might become panicky for words. And in that panic, you might want to reach for at least. Do not do it. I'm doing this companion video on Mary as an illustration of that. So much of motherhood and motherhood related issues is sorrowful, and I think we need to be reminded often what to do and what not to do when people close to us are in pain. This might feel uncomfortable, it might even feel funny, because it is somewhat exaggerated to make a point, and there is both comedy and truth in exaggeration sometimes in life, right? So this is the setup. This is not a theological lesson, not a historical conversation, completely imaginary, made up, loosely based on real events. This is how I imagine a conversation between Mary, the mother of Jesus, and a new friend she met at the market in Jerusalem in her old age. The two are sitting down, exchanging life stories. And the voice that you will hear from now on is the new friend's. So, Mary, you're telling me you found yourself pregnant in a really, really weird way. That would have been unsettling, indeed, it would. But hey, at least you met an angel. Yeah, I believe it. I bet everybody started ostracizing you as your bump grew. But at least your fiance didn't send you away. You got married and you got to give birth in a nice, safe place. Oh no, what? In a stable? Refugees? Yeah, some anxiety would naturally come from that. But it does sound like you at least had some really generous visitors who brought you gifts in that stable. Wait, you're telling me that one of those gifts was a funeral ointment herb? Oh, yeah, that would have been a troubling head scratcher indeed. But at least your kid didn't get killed when all the other thousands were murdered by an enraged king, right? Then what? Just years later, you lost Jesus during the festival in Jerusalem and couldn't find him for how many? 5 days? Gosh, I'm sure you were frantically worrying about him for all that time. He was debating the synagogue leaders. Some nerve on that kid. Well, at least you found him unharmed. And at least he went on to become a skilled carpenter and continue in the family business. Oh, don't say he decided to go into rabbinic ministry instead? And immediately you didn't hear from him for whole 40 days? Wow, so he left you and went around preaching and healing. At least he stayed close to home so you could see him occasionally. Your boy said that? Who are his mother and brothers? Wowza. So he did leave the family behind. But hey, didn't the people in Jerusalem welcome him with insanely cheerful hosannas at least? I've heard that story. And you know what else, Mary? At least he had some really good friends and steady followers. What? One of them sold him out to the Romans? And most of them ran away? Couldn't even stay awake the night he was being arrested? Yikes. And then you watched him die? A brutal death on the cross? I can't imagine. That must have been horrific for you. But hey, Mary, at least he's alive again and you have him back. What do you mean he ascended into heaven? But he promised at least that he'll come back again soon. And in the meantime, you still at least have Elizabeth's boy, John, to keep you company and reminisce with. Oh, don't say his head as a birthday gift. I'm glad that at least you have other sons. James was stoned. Whoa. So now you're just really left with that replacement son that Jesus left for you. What's his name? John? At least you have him. Exiled? Whew. Mary, yours is a pretty tragic story indeed. I'll tell you one thing though. At least he listened to you when you asked him to help avert that scandal at the wedding, and he got more wine for everybody like you asked him. He did, right? Yeah, at least he listened to you. Oh, you have to go already? Okay, well, you got a lot on your mind, and I have some work to do. Bye now. As most pastors, and hopefully all chaplains, would tell you, you never reach for at least crutch when trying to sit with the grieving and suffering. If you do reach for at least, chances are in a very, very high percentage that you will hit a wrong note. Whether the person that you are comforting will tell you that or not. There is a tendency in all of us to want to shortcut the grieving process for others. And perhaps the desire to be that one person who can find that one silver lining for our friend when everything seems dark. The questions here are, will they see our comment as silver lining? It's a risky gamble. And also, is this really helpful to them now? But there is a secondary motivation here often, really, not just to be helpful. Most people, at least initially, feel intensely uncomfortable sitting under that cloud of pure, undiluted grief. And all they want is to get out of that atmosphere as quickly as possible. In both cases, whether searching for silver lining or whether feeling uncomfortable in the midst of perceived negative dire circumstances. We end up spending most of the time together, not listening attentively, but formulating our own response, busy, desperately searching for something positive to say. As soon as that happens, the entire situation then becomes about us, about how we are feeling, about what's good and comfortable for us, not our friend that has suffered and is in real pain. When it comes to at leasts, do not do it. Resist it. In fact, try ceasing to speak altogether, or at least, to start with, minimizing your own word output. Try it. It might take time getting used to, but it is the better way. Just listening or mere sitting with people in deep grief is the better way of showing genuine care. Let them lead the way with words. This ministry, your ministry to a grieving friend, is first and foremost a ministry of presence. So be present and be mostly quiet.